Okay, welcome everyone, and welcome to NCFE webinar on looking at CPD opportunities for delivering essential digital skills. So this session today is going to be recorded, and we'll send the recordings out after the event. So if you want to look back over anything or refer to anything, it'll be there. It's going to be an interactive session today, so come prepared to get involved. And I know we've got another session at the end where we'll be asking some questions using Jamboard. There will be an opportunity to ask questions, and if you use the chat function in Team to pop any questions that you have throughout, and we'll have designated spots where we'll refer to those questions and try and provide an answer to them. So today, speaking on this session, you've got myself, David Redner. I am the Product Manager for Digital Skills at NCFE. Got Liz Wallace and Nick Jean join us from Education and Training Foundation. And we've got Rachel Webster from NCFE, who works in the provider development team. So the session plan for today, we're going to have a quick introduction to NCFE, who NCFE are, CPD opportunities with the Education and Training Foundations, and then we're going to have a little breakout session with Rachel on data security, focusing its Phishing, a little session there, and just demonstrate what sort of support our provider development team can offer for all centres. Then at the end, it's going to be a question and answer session right at the end. So just a little bit on NCFE. Obviously, NCFE, the educational charity and a national awarding organisation. We do have essential digital skills qualifications, and we will be producing the digital functional skills when that's released next year in September. In terms of our essential digital skills, we can provide you lots of support in lots of different areas. We have the skills assessment tool, which is normally formally Skills Forward. That provides initial assessment mapped to the Department of Education subject criteria, and it meets the mandatory criteria for the ESFA funding. That's part of the essential digital skills requirements. And it provides independent learning resources through our e-learning platform. We also have the provider development support. So this is free subject specialist support for your tutor IQAs. It comes on with onboarding support and CPD sessions every quarter, along with consultation. They also produce standardization videos and CPD videos that are available to support videos, and these are hosted on our YouTube channel. One of the things we're talking about today is obviously the different resources required for digital skills and available support. We've also developed our very own teaching and learning resources for essential digital skills, which includes 5 schemes of work covering each subject area, 23 individual sessions at each level for tutor to use to deliver to their learners, and a learner workbook that can be printed or a digital version covering the full subject content. We will provide a whole host of resources that are there to support your delivery. That's just a little bit of what NCFE can do for you. Obviously, Rachel will cover the CPD later in the session. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Liz at the Education Training Foundation to talk you through all the great opportunities the Education Training Foundation can offer to tutors and assessors. Over to you, Liz.
Thanks very much, David. Hello, everybody. It's good to be with you this afternoon. So I should clarify that my colleague Nick Jeans and I are representing the Education and Training Foundation. We are a separate delivery partner for their Essential Digital Skills programme. And that's what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. I don't know whether everybody has come across the Education and Training Foundation, but for those who haven't, it's essentially the professional development body for the FE and training sector. So it's developed professional standards for the sector, and it then runs a range of CPD. The Essential Digital Skills programme is now coming to the end of its 3rd year of delivery. It was commissioned by the Department for Education to support teachers, trainers and managers preparing to deliver essential digital skills qualifications or delivering them, or simply seeking to embed digital skills training aligned to the national standards in courses that you're running, that might be ESOL courses or vocational courses, even if you weren't planning to actually deliver the qualifications. So I'm going to try and share my PowerPoint now. This is always the exciting moment, isn't it, where we see if it's going to work. So here we go. It's definitely there. So I hope you can all see that now.
Yep.
Great. That's lovely. Glad to hear that. I'm just trying to put it onto full screen, but it's, there we are. Lovely. What are we going to do this afternoon? I'm going to very briefly outline what this Essential Digital Skills CPD programme from the Education and Training Foundation, ETF, can offer you. And then Nick is going to show you in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to quickly run through what's in this programme. So essentially, there are 6 key elements, plus one that is that we've piloted this year. So it's not on the slides, but I'll explain it when I get to that. So the first part of the offer is an interactive self-assessment tool. So that's not a self-assessment tool to use that learners would use to assess their skills, but for you as teachers, trainers, assessors, managers, to assess your own capability as regards the standards, and in particular to teach them. And Nick will show you how that assessment tool works briefly. And then the key thing about the assessment tool is that it will help you to identify the gaps in your knowledge and skills. And typically that's what we all find, that we're strong in many areas of digital, or some areas of digital, and then actually we find we have gaps in certain areas, and they can be quite surprising gaps sometimes. And then what the tool does is to give you your own personal capability profile, which signposts you to specific training. And the training that the ETF offers specifically is 20 short online learning modules. So you'll be signposted to some of those or some elements of those. And as I'll explain, you can actually earn digital badges as you complete them. The CPD programme doesn't just offer online resources, it also offers live online. Originally it was face-to-face, but live online events that you can go to, and there are some upcoming ones that we'll signpost you to as well. And some of those are now recorded, so you can actually go, for example, to a webinar about understanding essential digital skills and what the programme has to offer. There is an online community of practice, and that's been designed to be a very user-friendly, open community where you can connect with colleagues, and you can also download resources that will help you in your teaching, training and planning. And those have largely been contributed by other practitioners such as yourselves. There's a little toolkit that basically shows you the programme. So that CPD toolkit explains the programme. There's also a game that you can use. It's called Digiville. And in a sense, it's a bit like the interactive self-assessment tool. It allows you to, in a fun way, to look at your knowledge and skills and to see where there are some gaps and some things that you could do. So this is, if you like, a little overview of the programme and how it works. You go in at the self-assessment tool level, which you can do very quickly. This is not a big cumbersome thing. You then get signposted to online resources, and also there are the training events. And then as you engage with those, you'll find that there's the community of practice where you can share your thoughts and challenges, ideas, and also what you're doing. As you do the modules, you can see there are the 5 skills areas here of the national standards. There are a number of training modules for each area. as you either go through the module or just do the assessment quiz at the end and complete them, you can gain badges. And when you've done all of the 5 areas, all of the training modules for all 5 areas, then you can get an Essential Digital Skills course badge. Here's a little preemptive look at something of what the community of practice looks like. And as I say, the key thing about that is it's not just about conversations, it's about resources. And Nick will show you this in more detail shortly. And there's a whole range of video guides, Nick will show you where you can find them, that tell you about each part of the programme as well. In the past couple of years, we've also developed some case studies, that is to say, stories about people doing essential digital skills teaching essential digital skills, what other providers have found. And there's about to be a new series of case studies released looking at the results of reflective exploration projects, so critical reflections on different aspects of EDS practice by 5 organisations. Okay, this is where I hand over to Nick, and he shows you what this means in practice.
So I'm just going to share my screen and show you the website. So this is the home page for the Enhanced Digital Platform. And the problem with the Enhanced Platform is it's very, very rich. So there's a hell of a lot of content in there. The bit that we're sort of going to be talking about is the Essential Digital Skills bit, EDS. And when you click on this drop down button, you get sort of various sort of an idea of really the richness of the site. But Liz mentioned the video guides, for instance. Now, if you click on there, then you get a list of all the video guides available. If I go back to here, this is where the self-assessment begins. So I'm just going to briefly show you the self-assessment. What we haven't stressed so far, I think, is that all these resources are free. All you have to do is register on the website for free, and then you get access to all this stuff. So the self-assessment starts off with some very basic questions, but then it asks about your confidence in delivering the various topics. So if we start at 1, in using devices for teaching, I would like to explore this topic. So that's a very basic level. If I go for number 3, I know where to find software and how to add it to devices. If I go for 5, I can keep my own operating systems up to date with the latest versions and preferences. 6 is feeling confident about the topic generally, but 7 is feeling confident about delivering the topic to teachers and learners. And as Liz sort of emphasised, all of this stuff is aimed at you, the teacher, rather than at your learners. Okay, so we'll go back. Actually, I'll just show you the whole of the self-assessment just to reassure you that it's not huge. There are 17 questions in all. Don't take ages over them. And when you save it, you then get a profile of where your skills are. And also you'll get some detailed feedback pointing you to various modules that they think you need to sort of brush up on. Okay, so that's the self-assessment. That's the capability profile that I'm showing you right now. The digital skills badges, Liz has already mentioned, and you get the digital skills badges as a result of completing the modules. So I want to show you the modules now. This sort of shows you the whole process, the self-assessment tool first of all, then the online training modules, and then the community of practice, which I'll mention later on. So I'll just give you an idea of one of the modules. They all follow the same format. So if I just show you one, you'll get an idea of what's involved. So if you click on this one, I've already completed it, so I need to click relaunch. And I want to progress proceed with it. It's taken me straight to the quiz because that's where I will have finished. So I want to go to the home page to show you what you'll be faced with initially. Okay, so all of the modules have an introduction. They have 3 chapters. Then they have a section called Teaching Exemplars, which I'll explain in a minute. A summary, a quiz, which is what you need to complete successfully in order to prove that you've done the module and to get access to your digital badges. And then finally, a further resources page, which again, I'll explain in a minute. I'll give you a brief insight into one of the chapters. I'm conscious I better not go on too long. So chapter 1, capturing and saving images. It's going to tell you about using a digital camera, using a scanner, and doing screenshots. Okay, so it talks about digital images, talks about using a smartphone or a tablet, and as you can see, there's a little video there. There's a little quiz here. That's just a mini quiz. Talks about other ways to capture images. So it takes you through digital cameras, the more basic ones, and also the more fancy ones. And another little quiz here. It talks about using a scanner and also about doing screenshots. Another little quiz here. Talks about file formats, JPEG and RAW. JPEG being the smaller files and RAW being the much bigger files that you can do more with. Another little quiz here. Something about copyright and file types, there's a quiz there. So that's the end of that chapter. There are various ways to navigate through these modules. You can do it by these dots, that'll take you on to the next chapter. You can do it with these arrows, which again take you to the next section. Or you can go to the home page and start again. So 3 chapters, and then there's a teaching exemplars page. So let me just show you that. This is just giving various ideas about how you might deliver the topic to your students. So they suggest creating a CV, various possibilities. The bit that sort of took my interest is this section. Google Maps and Street View are a great resource to use with learners. Google actively encourages the creative use of their product. See link in further resources. So this is where the Teaching Exemplars page and the further resources page interact. So if I show you the further resources page, there's a section here called Google Maps. Google Maps and Street View, an excellent resource open to use. So click on their link, and now we're out of the module altogether. We're onto a Google page. And it talks about personalizing your map. You may annotate your maps with additional information like points, lines, or labels. In fact, many of our tools have built-in features that make it easy to do just that. For example, Google My Maps lets you draw lines and share shapes on a Google map. So if you click on Google My Maps, this will take me to the maps that I've created, but I'll just show you a little walk I did with my son, who lives in Liverpool, from his house. His house is here. And we took a walk into Sefton Park. I don't know if people know Sefton Park. And one of these will show a photo that I took there. I can't remember which one. Okay, there were some ducklings there in the park. We went on into Otterspool Park. And again, one of these shows an image. I'm not sure which one. Maybe it's there. No. No. Okay, this is coming down onto the promenade beside the Mersey. So anyway, the idea with this is that I think this is quite a nice tool to use with learners who might want to show where they're from, or might want to show how to get around the college, or might want to show their route into work, that kind of thing. So that's an illustration of what the further resources page and the teaching exemplars page can offer. The quiz is a fairly basic quiz. There are 8 questions, which you have to get them all right in order to get your digital badge. If you don't get them all right, you can always retake the quiz as often as you like. Okay, so that is the modules. So now I want to show you the rest of the site. Going back to EDS, we've mentioned the community of practice. This is becoming a richer and richer resource because more and more people are adding resources. There are various posts on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, there's a word cloud where you can find stuff particularly relevant to, say, ESOL. But there's also a resources section. So here you can look for resources and you can perhaps put in ESOL here and apply that. And then you'll find all the sort of resources that are available to do with ESOL. Finally, I just want to show you the events page. How am I doing for time, Liz?
Sorry, Nick. I think we need to be speeding along now, I think.
Okay, well, I'm more or less done, really. So this is the events page. These are the events that are coming up. And if you scroll further down, you'll find events that have already happened and the recordings that are available in those sessions. Okay, Liz, I think that's me done, really, unless you've spotted something desperate that I've missed.
Oh,
just to re-emphasize, all these resources are free and they are all aimed at the teacher rather than the learner.
Great. So I'm going to try and share my slides again. So Nick, if you could stop share, please. Sorry. I've got a question from Martin Wheatley. Thank you, Martin, and I'm going to answer that verbally now. I just need to find my slide set, I hope. Great. So, moving along. Nick ended on the events page, and I just wanted to flag up some of these upcoming CPD sessions that we've referred to. So I think one of the key things to understand about the ETF program is that rather than just offer a webinar which is about understanding essential digital skills, all things EDS, they've created this rich program where there's a variety of events so that you can in effect develop on a number of fronts. For example, there have been a range of how to teach sessions, how to teach essential digital skills. There's one coming up, next one on the 9th of March, looking at called Topping the Charts, how to create simple Excel charts in ways in which learners will understand and relate to. So practical webinars, workshops, very much looking at some of the more challenging areas of teaching EDS and how to help with some tips and advice. There are several events coming up called Digital Skills Matter, where those who've been involved in an ETF grant-funded Essential Digital Skills Champion Programme, who have advocated EDS and also done some reflective practice and helped to lead events, they're reporting back on their reflective exploration projects. And they are so different angles on delivering EDS, and then there are some live chats coming up as well, little half-hour sessions where again people who are delivering EDS or engaging with it are reflecting. So would encourage you definitely to have a look at those events if you're interested, and there are the recordings to look at as well. So The other thing is there is a newsletter which you can sign up for on the main ETF newsletter page. We can get you all these details afterwards in terms of links. I think Nick has also been entering some things into chat. So that's essentially the nub of the ETF Essential Digital Skills Programme. And perhaps we need to have a look at take some questions a bit later. I don't know how you want to play that, Rachel and David, questions now or later. I have got one question from Martin Wheatley that I'll answer now, which is how does the ETF self-assessment tool here relate to the JISC digital capability profile? Is it JISC digital capability tool as well? They are quite distinct, Martin, I think is probably the best way to say. We know that there has been some work on the JISC digital capability tool pointing to some of the enhanced modules, both the EdTech and EDS ones. So I think that there is an overlap in the sense that the JISC tool points to some of the ETF resources, but I think the self-assessment tools are quite distinct. Does that help to answer your question? Yeah.
Martin has put a note in chat thanking you, Liz, and just saying he doesn't want to overwhelm his teachers with too many different options, really.
Yes, that's understandable. Great. So I will hand back now to David and Rachel.
So just to reassure Martin, I mean, I've put in the chat pane that self-assessment should only take about 15 minutes. It could actually take just 5 minutes, really. Definitely, I would encourage staff not to spend ages over it. And also with the modules, I think it's just worth saying that if you feel pretty confident about a module but still want your digital badge, you can just go straight to the quiz section. And as long as you answer the 8 questions correctly, then you're reckoned to have completed the module, even if you haven't bothered reading the chapters. If you get a question wrong, they do refer you to the specific chapter that might help you answer the question correctly.
Well, hello. It's such a pleasure to be here today. As previously mentioned, I'm Rachel Webster, part of the provider development team here at NCFE. A little bit about my background just before we get started. I have teaching and assessing experience from a range of settings, including schools, colleges, private training organisations, teaching mainly IT qualifications and apprenticeship standards from pre-entry to level 4. In my previous role before joining NCFE was a quality manager at a private training organisation. So you can see the objectives on the screen now. I will start with an overview of the support that our approved Essential Digital Skills Centres will receive. Then I'm going to move on to a short taster session of what you can expect as CPD from NCFE. And this section will last approximately 25 minutes. So let's get started. So we'll start off with the support NCFE offers to all our approved centres. Providers are required to carry out an initial assessment to determine the individual current level for essential digital skills. With this in mind, the skills assessment team here at NCFE have developed an essential digital skills diagnostic assessment based on the new national standards for essential digital skills within their Skills Builder platform. So once your learner has completed the initial diagnostic assessment, the tutor can then assign learning support resources, which upon completion will create an individual skills plan, and that will be automatically created. Each essential digital skills qualification has a set of 5 schemes of work. Each scheme of work links directly to the 5 sections of the qualifications specification. And you are free to change the order of the sessions to suit your learners' requirements and your preferred order of delivering the different qualification sections. And also to support your delivery, we have a suite of teaching resources for each level, which include engaging PowerPoints that cover all the learning outcomes, associated worksheets and supporting materials for the session. And these paid for resources are designed to be used by tutors in all classroom settings, and they can also be shared on your VLE. And all the resources support the freely available schemes of work. Now, we do have an option of a digital version of the workbook, what you can share with learners. And it's just a great reference point so your learners can save examples of the work as they progress through the course. Our sample assessments are available in browser and are accessible using a web link. So there's no need to schedule or use a key code. All content within the sample assessments is modelled on the live assessments. Mark schemes for all the sample papers are provided to allow centres to mark on completion. And this allows you to identify learners' strengths and weaknesses to ensure individualised skills plans can be made using the outcomes of the practice assessments. We do have our customer support team. They're the first line of inquiry for all your administration needs. And the provider development team are committed to NCFE's core purpose of promoting and advancing learning. To achieve this, we engage with all our approved centres for free curriculum consultations at 3 different stages. So on induction as part of your onboarding to get you started with delivery and to prepare you for pre-assessment preparation, signposting to sample assessments and accessing teaching and learning resources. Then at midpoint, just to check to make sure that how your delivery is going and maybe signpost you to key quality assurance processes in preparation for live assessments, which many of you, the timeframes may vary depending on your delivery model. So we do plan in these accordingly with you. And then your final review to discuss progression and then also to reflect on your delivery and what's worked and what hasn't worked so well. So the provider development team will support teaching staff through all the onboarding period where support interventions and events will be able to access, and that includes monthly onboarding webinars, CPD, looking at topical relevant areas of interest, and these will take place once a quarter. And I think now we'll, as I previously mentioned, as part of your ongoing CPD, we'll look at topical and relevant areas that are highlighted by centres through their consultations. So today, I would like to introduce you to a taster session on cybersecurity with links to the Being Safe and Responsible Online and digital device section. So we'll be using a Google Jamboard so we can share ideas in a collaborative way. So let's investigate cybersecurity. So technology is everywhere and it becomes a fundamental part of modern life. The internet's brought the world to our fingertips and we have all come to depend on it in many ways, both at home and at work. But before we start, can I just ask you to post your definition of cybersecurity into the chat box for me, please? So what is your definition of cybersecurity? Yeah, protect against hacking. Any other ideas? Yep, protection of online data, being safe online. Yep, against fraud protection, keeping data and yourself safe online. Yes. Being protected from having your own personal information stolen. Absolutely. Yep, lots of ideas coming through there. What I'm going to do, so thank you for sharing those, but the National Cybersecurity Centre defines it quite well. Did you know that data is now one of the most valuable commodities in the world? And the data that makes up each of our digital footprints is extremely valuable, which sadly makes it a prime target for cybercrime. So online criminals and hackers want personal data, and it can be so easy to fall for their underhanded techniques. So that's why it's important to know what to look out for and what steps to take if their tricks succeed, and if you ever come face to face with a cyber attack at some point. So that's where cybersecurity comes in. So cybersecurity's core function is to protect the devices we use and the data we store them on from theft, damage, and unauthorized access. And it may seem daunting, but cybersecurity is driven by people and not technology. So people are responsible for what happens to their data, and you probably already have more control than what you think. So let's look at the most common cyber attack, which is phishing. So phishing is where you receive an email message, text, or phone call that appears genuine, but it's actually malicious. So phishing attempts might try to trick you into revealing sensitive information, or may contain a link to a malicious website or an attachment that's infected with a virus. Some attempts are random and others can be more targeted. The advice you will hear a lot is to look out for signs like poor spelling and grammar. While these are really a good place to start, they can't be used to spot all phishing emails. So other things to look out for is urgency. So using tight deadlines to create a sense of urgency that distracts you from the rest of the message, and it pressures you into acting quickly. Authority, so using authority of the sender, such as pretending to be a senior executive or a trusted colleague or a reliable company to try and convince you that the message comes from a trustworthy source. And then we have imitation, so exploiting the normal business communication, processes and daily habits to trick you into reacting to a message. So check who the email is addressed to, and if it's friend or valued customer, then this might be because the sender doesn't actually know you. So I would now like to introduce you to a phishing scenario. So please meet Imran. So Imran works for a small charity helping families in his local community. Now, the charity is still quite new and it's growing, so he's always looking out for good opportunities to get the charity recognised. So Imran needs your help. So in order for you to help him, I would like to ask you to follow the link on the slide to our Jamboard for today. Please keep this page open as we will be coming back to it. Now we are on frame 1 or slide 1, and I'll just give you a moment to read the text on the slide. So the email Imran has received was phishing email, and it was an easy mistake to make, particularly because the phishing email was designed to be relevant to his interests. So what do you think Imran should do first? So I would like you to go to frame 2 or slide 2, and I would like you to create a sticky note. Now I am going to demonstrate this. I will just share my screen in a moment just for the attendees who might be new to Google Jamboard. And I shall just do that now. So on the Jamboard, you can navigate to your different frames just by clicking the forward and back button. So on frame 2, on your menu on the left hand side, if you just hover over, you'll see one what says sticky note. So if we just select that, you can pick any colour you want. And if you can just either pop in your name or just your initials and then click save. And then we can just move this to under any heading you would like or what you think Imran should do first. And I'll just give you a few moments just to create and to get your ideas down on the board. So lots of ideas coming through. Okay, so while Imran should consider changing his passwords, his first action should be to tell somebody what's happened, such as his manager or an IT department. Fraudsters really rely on people feeling too ashamed of falling for the phishing attempt to even report it. So never give them the satisfaction. You did nothing wrong. And if you do click by mistake, the most important thing to remember is to tell somebody immediately to reduce the potential harm it could cause. So understandably, Imran is going to be left feeling quite vulnerable. So the phishing email he received used his digital footprint to make the message more convincing. So this includes any publicly available information about him, which could be found on websites, his social media, and professional networking sites. But in Imran's case, the hackers exploited the information from his social media page, which was linked to the charity. Now, he now wants to know how to better protect himself. So I would like you now to navigate to frame or slide 2 just by clicking the next frame button along the top. And again, if you could create another sticky note and put your name or initials on, and then again, place it under the most appropriate column heading. And I'll just give you a couple of moments just to do that. So what can you do to protect yourself from future attacks? Wow. So there's no need for Imran to delete his social media or even limit his usage of it too much. You should, however, review the privacy settings on his account and check the guidance provided by the social media platform. And it's important that he thinks about what he is posting and who he really wants to see it. So, for example, avoid posting specific details about your organisation and role, especially if it involves sensitive information, anything to do with money, or if you have highly privileged IT access, for example. So thank you everybody for your input there. You've really helped Imran to navigate a tricky situation. So accidents do happen, but responding quickly and being aware of the consequences is essential. Now I'm just going to switch back. So I would now just like to stop and reflect just for a moment. So phishing attempts can be hard to spot, and anybody might click on a phishing email at some point. Don't worry too much. It's just remember these key points. Try and manage your digital footprint. So review your privacy settings and keep your personal information to a minimum. Look out for key identifiers, keeping an eye out for signs of urgency, using the authority of the sender, imitation attempts, and spelling or grammar errors. Know your policies and processes, and read your organisation's policies and processes to help you know what to do. If in doubt, check it out. If you make a mistake or you're unsure about something, then you should always report it within your own organisation. And also you can consider contacting the National Cybersecurity Centre using the link on the screen now. Now, I'm aware that we've covered quite a lot in this small part of cyber security during this taster session, but hopefully you've had the opportunity to consider any areas of phishing you can share with your learners, or even try out some of the activities that you've participated in today's session. And just to complete the session, can I please ask everyone for one key takeaway, something new or consolidated as part of the session? And please record your ideas on the final of the Jamboard. So one key takeaway. And while you're doing that, we've reached the end of the session. If you would like to post any questions you may have into our chat box. Somebody's posted a really good phishing quiz from Google. So that'll be interesting to have a look at. And somebody's asking, would you say the digital skills calls aimed at learners that want to learn how to increase their digital skills, or more so what digital skills are? Well, it's really to get learners using digital skills, and especially over the past few years we've had, it's been a massive impact on people who didn't know how to use technology. So you could imagine trying to order your online shopping without knowing how to turn on a computer or to use a device or to do anything. So it's really to get learners at entry level 3 to be aware of how to use and how to turn on devices, and then progress maybe onto a level 1 where they can use the devices, but really to try and get them work ready at level 1.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Rachel. I would say essential digital skills are quite an exciting qualification because it can have a direct impact on someone's social mobility. It gives them opportunities to access new areas, and so much is on digital now, from just searching for a job, from food shopping, online banking, even just child tax, car tax, everything like that. So not having these digital skills can have a massive impact and hold you back. So it's a great qualification, really open up doors.
I think they say that something like 95% of jobs are now advertised online, which is quite a good reason to be online.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's asking about NCFE resources. Are they free? We've got different sort of packages, and they are available for you to have a look on QualHub. If you go on to our QualHub site, we do have a dedicated space for essential digital skills, and we have a resource section there, and it explains exactly what each resource package will cover and the costs involved.
Yeah. The free resource in terms of Rachel's team providing that their support is free for all NCFE centres. Schemes of work are free. The actual teaching resources do come with a cost. I think probably Nicola will probably want to jump in as well, just for the clarity for the Education Training Foundation. Their resources, I believe, are free.
They are completely free. Yeah.
Yes, Martin, I totally agree with you. Out of the sort of surveys, what I've come across, a lot of people, even in work, never mind school and colleges, think that the digital skills aren't at the right level. So it can be used to support different qualifications at even level 3 as well.
Definitely. I think the pandemic has showed with the remote deliveries and remote working even that a lot of people who haven't got digital skills are struggling a little bit, and so it can help in so many different areas. And one of the things that I say, certainly to training providers, colleges and employers is really, start digital skills in-house first, get your own people from the CEO down to understand what their digital skills is. It's not something, it could quite as easily be the CEO who has lack of digital skills than it is the administrator or down elsewhere in the office. So it's something that can impact everyone. And I think the pandemic's highlighted the need for that. And we'll probably had them family Zoom quizzes during the lockdown where I know certainly my parents had a very close up of the eyes and nostrils and stuff when we were first trying to do it on video. So it's somewhere that I think, certainly in education, it's a place where it can be drive forward education, one of them core skills.
And just to reinforce something Liz Wallace said earlier on, I think a lot of us have quite a spiky profile in terms of our digital skills. We've become quite good at something, but we're a complete black hole when it comes to other stuff. And I think that's where the ETF self-assessment is quite useful. You might find that you're level 7 on some things and level 1 on other things.
In terms of the Education Training Foundation, Nick, just to reiterate and just to reconfirm my understanding, is if I'm a teacher and I want to know more about joining that marvellous enhanced platform and get access to this training resource, what would be the steps I would need to take?
So all you have to do is register. And the reason you have to register is that the Department for Education want to know that it's a useful site. That's the only point of registering. It's not to do with costs at all. Everything is completely free, but the DFE need to know that it's a useful thing for teachers.
Thank you.
Liz, did you want to add anything to that?
Only to say that registering on Enhance is very simple, and you can, if you like, give as much or as little information as you want as part of that. So it's just a little sign up button on the top right hand of the Enhance platform, and then that lets you. There are some aspects you can use without being registered, but to get the full value from the site, and it's like a lot of sites. That's how internet world is, isn't it? To get the full value of the site, you need to register.
And I would like to really emphasize, I don't know if I have emphasized it enough, that in the modules, each of the modules has this section called Teaching Exemplars. And I think that's the bit that people will find really useful when they're worrying about how to deliver a topic to their students.
There are also some scenario guides for specific pathways. For example, if you're working in prison education, or if you're working with ESOL learners, or if you're working with learners with SEND. So I think there are some really useful materials in there that as you dig deeper, you can find more.
And also, sorry, just to add something else, in the community of practice, some people have actually posted their schemes of work, which you might find quite useful. So it's worth trawling through the community of practice for the resources that teachers have already shared.
Yeah, no, I really like that idea of bring the community together, sharing that best practice. It's where you find the most useful content sometimes, because you know what works in other people's classrooms. You can facilitate it for your own layer. So that's a really good little section.
Especially because it's a new curriculum, so everybody is sort of flailing about trying to think, how the hell do we deliver this? And some people are further on than others, and it's great that some people are quite willing to share what they've discovered.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's basically like crowdsourcing ideas, which is far easier than having to come up with all the ideas yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Why invent the wheel when you can reinvent it through others? It's definitely it's a great practice and get a great way to make connections as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I've just noticed that we have a feedback form what's just been put into the question box. So just a reminder, your feedback's always valued. If you could just take a moment at the end of the session to complete that, it would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
Martin, when you talk about mapping, do you mean with for the NCFE resources or for the ETF stuff? Feel free to unmute yourself, it might be easier.
NCFE.
Okay. Yeah.
So what was he asking?
I think he's looking at the different platforms learners use. I mean, the subject content, it's always with digital. I think there's so many different platforms out there that people can use. So what we're trying to do is stick to the subject content itself and the actual skills that you apply, you know, and try and make it as universal and generic as possible. I think, you know, you can't cover Google Workshop, Microsoft Office, Safari, all the different types. It just gets more confusing. I mean, in a teaching sense, you know, it's understand what your learner needs are at the very start when you're delivering learners, what they are familiar with, what they use most, and try and adapt your delivery to their needs rather than like us prescribing to one set area. But yeah, there's always going to be mapping to do around the different areas. But thanks for that question. Okay, Martin. Right. Thanks for your nice comments, everyone.
I know. Thank you.
Okay, right. Thanks again, Nick and Liz, for joining with me and showcasing what the ETF can do. And thank you, Rachel, for a great little workshop there. And I think lots of people are loving Jamboard and be going away to investigate that afterwards. So another example, great best practice shared there. Little things like that people will pick up and be able to use themselves. So we'll be sending a recording email round after the event and share that, and we'll share the link. So if anyone you know would benefit from this, do share the link and let people know about opportunities for the Education Training Foundation. And all left to say, I think now, have a lovely evening and hope to see you all soon.